In Jujutsu Kaisen, there are multiple characters with multiple statements, implying that these characters can become more eventually with time. And in this video, I'll be tagging these characters as monsters. I'll be considering 3 sorcerers who we haven't seen much of in the recent chapters, so manga spoilers ahead. The essence of this video is to put back value on the names of these sorcerers, because at some point in the story, these sorcerers were considered to be very powerful, but for one or more reason, we haven't gotten to see much of them. After all that happened in the Shibuya incident arc, Aoi Todo is put out of commission. Ever since we saw him use his curse technique for the very last time in chapter 133, Todo has not yet been seen on screen for over 100 chapters. But could Todo still have something else to offer to this story? Because right now, his role as a mentor figure and elder brother to Yuji, the protagonist, seems to have been occupied by Choso. The very first time we see Todo on screen was in season 1 of the anime. The principal of Kyoto High came to Tokyo Metropolitan High for Jujutsu students. Alongside the principal came Aoi Todo, a third-year student at Kyoto Metropolitan High for Jujutsu students, and Mai. Todo is able to utterly destroy Megumi, someone noted multiple times to be a formidable and competent grade 2 sorcerer. At this point, we are told that Todo was able to beat 5 grade 1 curses alongside a special grade curse spirit. It was only against the special grade curse spirit that Todo would go on to use his curse technique. Todo's curse technique, which would later be revealed to us to be Boogie Woogie. Now, for reference, it's practically unheard of to see a Jujutsu sorcerer beat multiple curses of that grade without using their curse technique. In the manga, Yuji, someone considered to be a very good method of skill for Todo, would later go on to contend with multiple grade 1 curse spirits and even those of a higher caliber without the use of a curse technique for that matter. For references, barring the special grades and a handful of Jujutsu sorcerers, there are probably just a few who are capable of contending with grade 1s and higher without the use of their curse techniques. And this is a feat Todo was able to pull off a year even before the story picks up, when everyone's favorite teacher, Gojo Satoru, talks to the principal of the Kyoto Jujutsu High School. Gojo mentions a handful of students who will one day be able to surpass him, and it's no surprise that Todo was present. At the exchange event, a special grade curse spirit, Hanami, a curse born from humanity's fear of plants and nature, it's able to make quick work of a few notable sorcerers, namely Inumaki, Maki, Fushiguro, and Naritoshi. This special grade curse spirit is only then pushed when a duo consisting of Todo and Yuji pulls up. Todo informs Yuji that he would only be joining the fight after Yuji lands a black flash. And just like that, Yuji lands a black flash. It's then explained that sorcerers who have landed one of those are on a completely different level than those who haven't landed a black flash. Todo says that previously, Yuji has been mixing multiple ingredients as a chef into a meal, not knowing the results. But now, Yuji understands what ingredients are required to make the desired meal. Todo and Yuji's fight against the disaster curse Hanami displays how fast and quick Todo is able to think in combat. After the curse spirit decides to use his second hand, Todo decides that he's going to start taking things seriously. He tells Yuji that he's about to pull out his technique and that Yuji shouldn't stop no matter what. Todo is swung towards a wall of thorns, and then he claps, the clap switching positions with both him and the disaster curse spirit. Todo's clapping of his hands would then go on to become a major determining factor on which side would win the fight. And at this point, we are treated to the wonderful pronunciation of the name of his curse technique. Yuji and Todo would then go on to land multiple combos on Hanami, flexing on him. We also see that Todo is relatively proficient when it comes to using curse tools, as he is able to use the special grade curse tool, Playful Cloud, relatively easily. After the exchange event, the very next time we would get to see Todo in action would be when he assisted Yuji at the Shibuya incident arc against Mai. Todo was more so being a third wheel in that fight. He was impressive, but not as impressive as he was previously. Despite what I just said, Maito himself had to acknowledge how disorienting Todo's curse technique can actually be, because even though you know that the clap signals the activation of the curse technique, you would still have to wonder who he would switch or who he was going to switch with, as his technique is able to switch the position of 2 people that doesn't even include himself. Plus, him clapping doesn't necessarily mean he's going to switch positions at all. I guess Hanami learnt that the hard way. I'm very much welcome to seeing Todo one last time before Jujutsu Kaisen is over, probably in a fight involving him, Yuji, and Choso. I'll be moving on to Higuruma. Higuruma is a calling game player who was formerly a lawyer. He had his curse technique awakened after Kenjaku initiated the calling games. Gege has been giving Higuruma some very interesting lines throughout the fight between Gojo and Sukuna, but where did it all begin? Well, Higuruma was able to rise to the ranks of a grade 1 sorcerer in terms of strength after just 12 days upon the activation of his course technique. You see Higuruma's domain expansion known as Deadly Sentencing. Deadly Sentencing summons a courtroom and the opponent is asked a question. Should the opponent lie, then his or her cursed energy would be confiscated. But just like in a courtroom, the opponent can call for a retrial. If the opponent is found guilty again, then the death penalty can be given. When the death penalty is ordered, then the executioner's sword is handed over to Higuruma. It's stated that without exception, anything cut with the executioner's sword will die. The executioner's sword unironically negates durability, but this doesn't make Higuruma all powerful, as in a fight, other things will come into play, like speed. Besides Higuruma's fight with Yuji, we haven't actually seen Higuruma do anything else combat-wise, and with all the multiple panels he has been having in the recent chapters of the manga, I won't just count him out, at least not yet. The sorcerer I want to end this video off with would be Uro, a Culling Game player from the Sendai colony, a sorcerer from the Heian era. We know that from her former lifetime she was betrayed by her allies based on the conversation she and Yuta had. Uro's course technique, Thin Icebreaker, sky manipulation, allows her to turn the sky into a surface. This allows her to somewhat distort space and use it to her advantage. With her course technique, she's able to hold her own against Yuta, a special grade sorcerer, for a while before she's eventually taken out by Ryu. Uro is able to use Thin Icebreaker to avoid taking damage from the very first granite blast Ryu fires at both she and Yuta. In another encounter, she's then able to use Thin Icebreaker to redirect Ryu's attack back at him. But despite that, she's no match for the combined might of both Yuta and Rika. As they press her, she is forced into using her trump card. And here we get to see 3 domain expansions expanded at the very same time. The barrier is distorted by Kurorishi. However, after this, Ishigori uses a granite blast to put her out of commission. Some chapters later, we see Sukuna step into Sendai colony. Sukuna makes quick work of Ishigori, but Uro chooses not to face him. I put Uro in the list solely because we might actually get to see her aid the gang sometime in the future. And these are just a few of the sorcerers that the fight between Gojo and Sukuna is overshadowing. Before the series ends, I hope we get to see one of them in action at least just one more time. If you enjoyed this video, then please feel free to leave a like. If you have something to say, then put it in the comments, and if you want to see more videos like this from me, then please subscribe.